All right, guys, let's get some folks in here. We're gonna go through this awesome rig. This thing was a fun build. We'll take you guys through this thing. We'll get some folks in here. We got a lot to cover tonight. We got the fork. Looks like it's done. There's some blocks being won by some Bitcoin Cash miners. Let's got some awesome builds. Hopefully have an update finally to the multi-miner tonight. We can finish up and get out tonight. There's some good stuff coming on here. So let's see what we got going on. This is an insane build. We finally got enough 1080 Ti's in to kind of fill this in. It's nice, like this feels like I just opened an oven on this side. I lit out the thermal gun, so the thermal gun is actually sitting in another mine right now, looking at some stuff. So the thermal gun is not with me tonight. Otherwise, I'd show you kind of the heat output of this thing. It's insane. But I think you guys will like this build. This is a different color than we've done before. This is kind of a aqua. I mean, it kind of looks marine. When it was actually getting done, it looked kind of like the bottom of a pool. Maybe this is kind of tricking the cards into thinking they're water cooled or something, but it's a pretty sweet looking color. And we'll take a closer look at here once we get in, folks. Yeah, we've seen the Vegas. I've seen some people talking about the Vega. So the second we can get the Vega 56, there's 3 different types. It looks at launch, kind of like a Founders type of launch with them. It looks like the Vega 56, the Vega 64 air cooled, and then the Vega 64 water cooled. They have very high TDPs, so I don't know if they're going to be really efficient, but they do have HBM2 on the memory, and the memory clocks compared to they're comparing everything to the Fury X right now, because that's the kind of upper tier card. So if you're getting confused, if you're looking at other reviews out there, a lot of the blogs that are actually writing about them right now, and we're talking the Vega X, or the Vega RX rather. The reason why they're comparing it to, you know, last generation's chips, you know, even before the RX series, is because those were the higher end chips. You know, an RX or an R9 390X or an R9 Fury X is actually, it's faster than a RX 480 when it comes to like gaming and a lot of other things. You know, the RX 480s, the RX 580s are both kind of mid-tier cards. You know, they were to compete against like the 1060 GTX, not even the 1070s, unless you paired them together and you went crossfire with them. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the reviews, hardware architecture wise, they're a lot like the older Fury X's. So there's some pretty cool stats on them. I'm very interested into seeing, because that memory's a lot faster. The Fury X, his memory speed was 1,000 megahertz. Essentially, both sides is 500 piece. So you're talking the RX Vega looking at a 1800 memory speed. So a nice bump in memory performance. So it should translate pretty well, but again, it might be at the expense of a lot of power. So I think one of the actual hybrid card, that the RX hybrid or water cooled one, had a TDP of like 375. So I mean, that's like, those things are going to be some power hungry beast, I think. So we'll see. We're obviously going to get all 3 right out of the gate. We'll pick up one of each as soon as we can. We're still not cool enough to get on the review cycle. I've tried to reach out to all of them. I cannot, for the life of any AMD or NVIDIA for that matter, get them to send us anything. So we will buy it as soon as we can, and we will show it to you guys, because we'll press forward. We won't let it stop us. So looks like we got about 150 in there. So the second we get that, guys, and you'll probably see them in the blogs and the folks that can get access to them, folks from like Hong Kong on that other side of on the planet will probably get access to them earlier, and you'll see some stuff come out. We're taking an assumption here in the next couple of weeks that you'll start seeing some actual reviews, some decent reviews on it. again, the other thing that we got coming that we're going to pick up as quick as we can is I want to pick up the new Threadripper. The top end, I'm talking, you know, the high end one, the 16 core base with the 32 virtual. I want that to be our new render box. So we're gonna retire the Ryzen 1800X, which is our current render box. That we have a couple, actually these two GTX 1080 Ti's that we pulled out of there are the two render cards that we're using, just because we looked at the Titan X and it wasn't that much faster on actual GPU rendering for some of the like 4K video. I mean, it wasn't worth the expense. Let's just put it that way. And I like the secondary benefit of having this for gaming, having a couple GTX 1080 Ti's. But any of the stuff that's doing CPU rendering, and then, you know, taking that through like Monero and some of the other coins, I think that'd be kind of a cool benchmark. We kind of did one a few videos back where we took like i3, i5, i7, Ryzen, and did kind of a check with like XMR. I'd like to refine that and do more of a tactical video that was very straight to the point. Maybe not on a live stream, maybe to be a video. We haven't done a video in a while. We need to do a video that's more like a 10-minute, just straight to the point, and kind of get you the stats. But we'll tee that up for when we get the Threadripper, and if we can get our hands on a decently priced i9, I'll do that too. Again, guys, we pay for all of this stuff. We get none of this shipped to us like the other reviewers. So we're bankrolling that entire, any of the reviews we bring to you guys, we bankroll that. So we use some of it for some of the other stuff we do, so it's not a total like loss or a waste, or like some of these extra cards and stuff that we've purchased that just are not in, you know, rigs and stuff, like, you know, I mean, what is this? This is like the RX, this is a 460, like 4 gig, like, you know, we'll probably end up giving this kind of stuff away. I'm trying to get a better strategy at doing some of the stuff to be able to do some giveaways, to hit a larger spread, you know, not just one big giveaway. Probably have like 3 or 4 things that we can start divesting. I mean, we have some older ASRock H81 Pro BTCs that we pulled out of mining rigs and have switched them over to like the 12 GPU rigs to kind of consolidate the space. So I mean, we have some actual operational boards that were used, you know, maybe divesting some of those and you know, hooking you guys up with some of that hardware. So for the mining community, you know, taking care of you guys. I have no other BBT here tonight. I'm running solo tonight, so I'm kind of looking over and checking the time and stuff. So we did a kind of a brief update there with Vega. When we get that, we'll be bringing it to you. Again, follow us on Twitter. Check out Twitter. I tweeted this today. You know, some of the folks that have already went out to Twitter already kind of know what its performance is right now. And we're gonna give it. I just knocked out the video for it. Hold on. Let's get this tightened in here. I just turned around and looked. Didn't see it on the screen. We'll get that back on. So we'll go ahead and go through this. I'll tell you. I'll walk you through this build and kind of how the power and everything's set up, because when you're talking 13 GPUs with a 6 and an 8 pin, or a special configuration of like an 8 and an 8 pin, you got to manage your power very specifically to what you're going to put in here to power the source, because you got 13 risers. You're going to have a ton of, you know, ancillary power that you're going to need, and you need to strategize on what you're going to need to do that with when you're talking 13 GPU rig. You know, the rig back here that you can see kind of in the dark. I need to put a light back there. That rig right there is the 13 1060 rig that we've been working with. All right, right now we're at about 21 mega hash on there. I've been trying to get it stable at 23. Once we figure that part out, and it might be just one. I think I have one GPU that's just not wanting to play ball, and it's causing the whole thing to go south. But we're still narrowing that down. When we do that, we're gonna do a proper review of the 3 gig 1060. We'll see if we can find that one that's causing it. Otherwise, we'll just do it and show you the 21 mega hash at 60% power. That whole entire rig right now is like just under 1200 watts, and it's like 263 mega hash, which is crazy. It's like one of the best ratios right now you can get is the 1063 gig at power level of 60%. And, you know, undervolted just a little bit, and that thing is just, I mean, 260 mega hash at like right at 1200 watts. It's under it a little bit. It's like 1196, but If we can get it a couple more mega hash per card, that's another like 20. We could probably get it to like 280 mega hash, which I think would be sweet. So we're going to keep working on that one, and we'll have a separate live stream for that one. But tonight is this one, the kind of aqua build that we got going here. These are GeForce GTX 1080 Ti. These, almost all of them are the ASUS Founders Edition version of the ASUS cards, and it's powered by two, and we put it in the description, two 1600 T2 EVGA Supernovas. So they're like very top tier power supply, probably one of the best power supplies you can buy on the market. From our experience, and we're talking AX 1500Is, we're talking Lepus 1600 to 2000s. I mean, things that we've tried. The 1600 T2 is like the pinnacle of power supplies that we've experienced, you know, from just a reliability standpoint. And this is the guy that I'm talking about. The T, the P, which is the platinum, is still pretty good, but the T really has that overhead room to where if you're pushing 1700, 1800 watts to it, when you're doing some testing and you breach over really where you want to go with, you know, over the 15 amp limit, the T2 will handle that, and we haven't lost any, we haven't had any issues with any of them. I've had some issues with the P2s when we really breach around past 1600. Now, you should never run it over 1600, but if you're stair-stepping some of these, and you may go over that when you're trying to put, you know, like 8 of them on one, because this thing will actually support 9 GPUs, this one power supply will. When you're at 9 GPUs, you kind of put it to its limit. It's about 1700 watts, no matter what GPU you put on it. You're about 1700, 720, 1722, somewhere around there. So right now, you can probably see this a little. Let me see if I can get rid of the shadow here. Where's the reflection coming from? It's coming from in front of it. Let's see here. You guys can just see what this is. One of the powers, one of them, and we'll check them both. But man, this thing really needs to be backlit. It's 1300 and some change. You know, let's get some light on it. There we go. 1304. So we're talking, you know, it's a lot of juice right now going through this thing. So this is the one power supply that's powering the motherboard and about half of the risers. It's actually 6 of the risers. The other one's got 7 of the risers. So we'll kind of go through it a little meticulously here in a second. And don't worry if you guys have super chatted. We'll respond to those, and we're going to try this with a couple different. Right now it's doing Ethereum. We'll do Ubik here in a second. I'll switch it up, and then we'll do some dual mining with this too, and we'll see what the power rises to on this rig too. So you guys are going to see kind of a full gamut of, if you built something like this, kind of what is it capable of, how much power is it going to draw, and then what we'll do is we'll shut it down. We'll switch the power over to the other PSU so that you can see the cumulative power draw on it, because I think that's important too. This is going to be a split, so you're talking 220 amps. I mean, 15 amp, you're going to be real. I mean, it should be the only thing on it, right? So one power supply running at 1300 watts, you're really kind of hitting to where that safe zone of that 15 amp. 15 amp will handle it, but if you put anything else on it, you're probably going to pop a circuit. You have to go there and switch a fuse back. But we'll do the review of both of those. That way, you guys have an idea. So, just from a benchmark standpoint, first PSU has 6 of the cards risers of the 13. So we have that'd be leaving 7 more to the other power supply on the risers. And then it's powering the board, which has the 24 pin into the board, the 8 pin into the board, you know, from the supplemental CPU power, and that's it. So that is, and then obviously it's got 6 of the actual GPUs. I believe this has got, it might have 7. We'll check it. And then we have the remaining GPUs on the secondary power supply, and we're using a daisy chain. I had some questions with this where people were asking me, like, how do you actually set one of these up? And what we're going to do is I'm going to open up another power supply, and I'm going to explain this very slowly to the folks, especially the new folks that are coming in, on how these things work. And then we'll get into looking at some power, and then we'll get into performance metrics with this. I'll switch the screen so you can see it closer up. Here, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little sneak peek right now of it. Actually, if my Stream Deck doesn't feel like working. Let me brand this. How about this? There we go. Stream Deck's working again. So right now, you guys can get a glimpse of what it's at right now. This is doing Ethereum. It's just pointing to Ethereum. So we're looking at 470. Let me give you a better look at that. We're looking at 470 mega hash on this thing. So 36.7. It's slightly overclocked. It's not crazily overclocked. We could take these up a little further. Now this is in Linux, so you're talking, if this was in Windows, these right now would be running about 38 mega hash. That's about 2 mega hash difference between Linux and Windows right now. But if we could run all of these in Windows, we'd be about right at 38 mega hash, and you know, you'd be looking more like 485, 490 mega hash. So kind of a beast mode, almost a full 500 mega hash single rig. I mean, that's just crazy talk. So this is kind of the pinnacle of what you can build right now. And there's even actually, if we had some expanders, you could technically expand this a little more. We'd probably have to add a third power supply, but you could use a 4-card bridge on this, on top of that, and then probably put another, you know, that would put us at, what, 17. You could probably put a 4 and a 3-card bridge. You could probably get almost 20 of these in there. But I think Simple Mining is actually only supporting 15 GPUs right now, so you could use one bridge to get you the rest of the way, and add another 70 mega hash to this, so you'd be at about 540 right now. Is about the top that you could possibly get in any machine right now, is about 540 mega hash with Simple Mining. Simple Mining supporting 15 GPUs, and if you're using an expander on this, you could get another 70 mega hash out of this at these current rates. You would have to split it to a third power supply though. So if people were wanting to know kind of what is the top tier right now, short of anybody modifying you know, Linux to where you could get more than 15 GPUs, but right now Simple Mining supports the 15. So this daisy chain is how these things are connected. So if people want to know how do you get two 1600 T2 power supplies in there, you have this kind of setup, and we'll use one of these just kind of basic boards here as an example with power supply. So this daisy chain will go into this 24 pin right here. So for the folks that don't know that, that goes in there, and then your primary power supply will plug into this portion right here. And the primary power supply's 8-pin will plug into that directly. And then on this particular board, this is an ASRock H81 Pro BTC. This is a 6-card board. You would put your 4 pins in there if you weren't using powered risers. You need to have your 4 pins in there if you're not using powered risers with this board. Otherwise, you can just leave them out. And then single power supply here. The secondary power supply unit would plug into there. And then you flip them both onto power. You'd have both power supplies kind of like that, one on this side down here and one on this side over here. They're kind of the same way we got these spread. And then when you engage, you flip both the power switches on them both. That'll keep this one dead until you turn on this, you turn this rig on. When you turn this rig on, it fires up both power supplies at the same time with this piece of equipment. So that's all it's doing. It's doing it safely for you. No more having to like do some crazy engineering. You can get these. We'll make sure we'll put a link on there for Amazon. That way you can get these. They're about $5 to $8. I think Crypto Mine sells them too. If you're in that part of the world and want to get it quickly and don't have to wait for DHL shipping from China, but they do sell these out there. We'll put them out there for you guys. But that's how you're going to do dual GPUs. That's kind of how we did the 1060 rig that's behind us here. The 1060 rig is using 2 of these 850s. So we're using 2 of the 850 P2s in there. So it was instead of going with just a single 1600, we split it to 2 850 P2s using one of those little daisy chain splitters, and it made things a lot more simpler. And there's just enough after you buy one of the dual 6 to 8 pins, because those are 6-pin cards. You have to use one more of these duals to get all 13 GPUs. Otherwise, you could do 12 all day long on two 850 P2s. So I'll look real quick and see if anybody's had any questions, and then we'll move on to looking at the rig. We've got a super chat for a grilling network for a smooth $10. Thank you, Grilling Network, for that. All right, I'll take a look back at that in a second here. So let's go ahead and try to get this thing. I think right now I'll show you guys the simple mining actual settings that we're using, and what we can do here is I'll bring it up over here. I'll put it on the laptop, and then I'll show you guys from that, because I want to show you guys the settings that we're using for this if you had this kind of setup and rig. Let me get logged in here, and then I'll share that part. And then I'll take a look at some of your questions. And it looks like nothing like so far crazy's happened with the fork. I do like looking at all the those future prices are going up, and you know, we called it to be a hard crash, but the reason why I think those future prices are going up is nobody can move their Bitcoin Cash into any of these markets yet. Like Bitrex, I see some volume on it, and everybody's like, oh, it's the highest volume. It's like you can't bring any coin into it. So you either had to have your Bitcoin in Bitrex, and then that's the only stuff you're playing with, but you can't bring any into it right now. So just wait and see what happens to that price when actually the exchanges open up and allow people to move coin into them. Because I have quite a feeling that there's going to be quite a people moving in, and you just can't just, oh, I have more money, you know. I mean, there's going to be some movement in price. You can't just fork the network and then get a lot of value with it. I mean, it's going to be an interesting next few days, I think, for Bitcoin Cash as it tries to find its proverbial bottom to where real folks will actually start to invest into that chain. But I'd be highly surprised if it stays at that 300 range that it is. I'm getting logged in right now into simple mining, and then I'll show you guys the settings before we start messing with stuff and bringing this down and switching it to dual mine and all that kind of stuff. And while we're doing that, while I'm waiting simple mining try to figure its life out right now, I'm going to switch over to this and give you guys kind of a closer view of this build. So again, this is an aqua colored paint. It looks a little light blue, I guess, with the lighting, but it is super aqua. Like if you had an empty pool, that is its color. So there's the 1600 T2. And then this actually had enough room for 15. We pre-drilled just enough for 15. We made it long enough, and I'll give you guys the measurements of this. But this case here is made for 15 GPUs. So we got 13 in here now. Actually, I think we pre-drilled a few more. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, this is 18. We made this for 18. That's right. We had a 15 and an 18. This is the 18 card build. Figuring if we could use an expansion riser on it, then it was worth the attempt at having the case already pre-built with 18 GPUs. So there's the kind of layout that we have right now. So you could see the extra one here, and then there's one in between here, which will sit right down in here between these two, and then one that'll sit between these two, and then one that'll sit between these two, which is connected there, and then the one that's up here. So there's kind of the build, so you can see see if the lighting can figure itself out. It's an 80 Ti, and you can see the other one's kind of tucked down there. And then underneath, it's kind of just a mess down there. You can't really see. There's not a lot of wire management right now. This is more of kind of just getting the thing built. And you can kind of see the kind of wide angle on it there. And right now these things are kind of tucked in there. They actually slide kind of underneath here, and then we actually have a colored bracket that'll set right here and snap that into place. We just didn't put it in there yet because I wanted to make sure everything was good with the power before I started really tightening it down and getting it, you know, set in there. But that's essentially the build. And then you can see here a multitude of different risers that we're trying. We had the 7S and then the straight 7 risers. It's just a mix between those. Mostly the 7S style riser. So see if that thing can get angled where let you see something. So let's get a simple mining is still not figuring its life out here. Rig list. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at some settings. And I'll look at your guys' comments right now. While we're kind of getting this set up. Yeah, we'll share the color. Let me actually grab the canister so you guys know exactly which paint we used for this. Need to find it. We did put it near because I did not want to lose it. That is a good question to make sure that we have the exact one. All right, we got it. Here we go. So we'll use this one. This one is the, does it not say the actual color? No. It's Rust-Oleum. It's protective gloss enamel, and it doesn't say the actual color for some stupid reason. But I mean, you can't miss it. It looks, in the can, it looks exactly like what you're seeing here right now. I don't know why they would not have put the actual color on the can. I guess they don't name the can colors. But let's see here. Ooh, I got some. So right now we'll check the other circuit. I think the other line's a little lower than this one. This one's at 1300 for the primary power supply. We will go and check that other one in a second here. But here is simple mining right now. I don't know if, let me see if you guys can see that one. When I go to, let's go to full screen on this side. And then I gotta pull this down because I know you guys can't see the other because of the bars there. And let me see if I can change the view. There we go. That should blow it up a little bit. So you can see in simple mining here, we gave it a name, beast mode. In the new simple mining UI, you can do some stuff here. Now, if you want to just change the name, you can click it right there. Just change the name. You say Ti 1080 Ti. Save. and that'll actually change the name there. It gives you some basic stats on it, and then how many times it's restarted. It's been up for 41 minutes straight. This will give you a kind of a readout on all the GPUs and what they're doing, fan speeds, and core memory. So if we go into here, and this is gonna probably need to come up a little bit. So right now we have it on a core of 110. We have core memory overclocked to 1200. And then the power limit watts are 225. And then temperature we set at 85, and right now I got the fan speeds at 62. I usually have the fan speed at 30 because I have another fan that kind of sets over this and keeps these all cool, and I don't need all of that, you know, all that, the fans running at 60%. I usually hate running any of my GPUs at that level. So right now they're at 60 because I don't have the external fan on them, but those are the settings right now that are working pretty well. What we're going to do is, I think we can drop the power limit a little bit. It's just with that heavy overclock, we can try it down like 195 or 190. I just think I was getting some reboots with that. Pull this down here and save. And then we'll give this thing a hard reboot. And then of course that's gonna reboot the machine. Now you're not gonna see that right away because I have the actual screen set to the laptop right now, but we'll watch it kind of bounce real quick, and then we'll set it, and then what we can do is we'll go in and here, I'll switch back to the other, and what I'll do is I'll queue up some dual mining if we can get the power down a little bit. We'll let you go to that screen here as that comes back up. I'll switch you back here right now so that machine runs back up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a simple mining set up for some like Decred, and we'll try some library and a couple others, and let you guys take a look at what this thing can perform with that kind of setup. So we'll get in here and make some changes here. I'm just getting the script set, and then I'm going to bring you back to simple mining, and I'm going to show you the pasting of the actual syntax in there. That way you guys can see that. I'm just kind of going to one of our network shares and grabbing all that. I already have it kind of set up and just save some time. And this thing should be booting right now. We'll check your comments in 1 second. Make a little note here. This reboots. Library. Let's check the power on this. Now we brought the 95. Yeah, so we did drop it a little bit. Now the big thing is if this is going to remain stable, but we did drop that down from 1300 to, let's get some lighting on this, to 1156 by changing the power. So it's 1100. That's a pretty significant drop in power. We did not drop that much mega hash at all. We actually went from 470. Let's switch it back over here. So we went from 470 to about 463, but we saved a lot more power. So this is kind of more of a probably a better setting to keep it at to save the power. Now what I'm going to do before I switch it to library and all that other the other testing that we'll do with this, I'm going to bring up, I'm going to shut it back down, and I'm going to swap this. So right now this is plugged into the first PSU here. So this is plugged into that one right there, which is powering the board and all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap, we're going to shut it down, we're going to swap over to this other one right here. So you see I got two 20 amps right now running this. 120 amp on this one, 120 amp coming on this one on a power strip. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut this down, leaving these settings in play on this. So 463. We're going to kill that power. We're going to kill that power, and once that shuts down, I'm going to swap the because I have so many of these little things. I just only have one here. They're all at the other places. I need to get another one that for this situation actually, where I can check both. But we'll let this power down. I'm going to swap over to the other power supply. That way you can see that one running, and then we'll go and we'll test the other stuff. We'll let this get all the way down. It's taking its sweet time. We'll pull that out. Let's come over to this. We'll swap this around and let you see the actual power output of the second power supply. That's just powering cards and risers, not the system. And I think I got the 7th card on this one, if I recall correctly. So man, that thing is just super reflective. So while that's booting, somebody should send me a second watt meter. Hey, you know, you guys giving some nice super chats. We'll just buy one, and it's a gift from you guys anyways. So the folks that have been awesome and sending us super chats, you can know that super chat that you're sending over is paying for a second kilowatt for us, and then we won't have to do this. Yeah, so I'm reading some stuff about you guys. So the DAG file, RX update. So I haven't received any word that they've made any changes, but I'm seeing some stuff out in the net that folks are talking that Claymore had made a statement that he's confirmed the RX Vega has been fixed with the DAG epoch issue, and that they're on the verge of releasing the fix for the AMD cards. So that'll be a good thing with the reduction of hash power as the epoch level gets close to 150 for Ethereum. If you're mining Ubicoin or Expanse or something like that, you don't have any issue with that. And that reminds me, for the next episode, we're not going to have a live stream tomorrow, but we will have one Thursday. I'm going to put it on the calendar. And we're going to fill out this rig again. This is the new what is this? The BioStar board, the 12 GPU BioStar board. So we got a new fresh one of those. We're actually going to fill this rig out with some 2 gig cards. So we've been talking about doing a 2 gig card episode. and we're going to put some 2 gig cards in there, and I'm going to show you what you guys can mine with some of those older cards. And I'm talking, we're going to take a journey back in time a bit, and we're going to talk the 750 Ti. We're going to talk the 270, the RX 270, or the R9 270, and then maybe even some R7 240, some old school stuff. I'm talking for some of the other coins that out there that are not memory dependent, and then some that are on a very low epoch level, which the DAG file is just over 1 gig, so the 2 gig cards work fine. So we'll do that this week. Robert Arth, rocking in that other $10. So those 2 $10 things just bought that that other piece there. All right, so we're back up. We're back up right now. We're gonna switch over. So first off, let's take a look at power here. And this one actually definitely has the other card on it. So we are at 15. So the second power supply is at 1512. 1510. So you're looking at 1152, 1150, and 1510 cumulative. Both of those at the same. You know, this view over here, I can totally tell. I haven't shaved in a few days. You guys are getting to see me in my scragglies. So, 1510. That's what that thing's rocking right now. So that's why it's got a 1600 watt power supply in there. So we were just over probably 1600 on that without the power adjustment here on that power supply. So you're looking at, I mean, this whole rig, I mean, this is equivalent to a couple rigs, guys, obviously. I mean, 460 mega hash is no joke. I mean, that's quite a bit of mega hash, and you're talking 2,600 watts, 2,650 watts of power usage. But you have almost 500 mega hash. So this is kind of like, you know, if you're rocking a Ferrari, I mean it's not the best way to get around in transportation, but you're rocking a Ferrari. This is kind of the Ferrari kind of setup of GPU mining rigs, because you got the speed, you're using a hell of a lot of power, a lot of resource. The Ferrari's not very efficient fuel, you know, for fuel reason. There could be some more tweaking, but we're not going to bring this down too much lower than that. I mean, we would probably be able to knock it down a little more, probably to 175 TDP, maybe drop the GPU speed down some to about 90, maybe 80, and then see if we still have stability. We'll probably knock that down to about 1,400 watts, maybe 1,380, and then we'll be right at 1,000 watt on the other, so you're still, at the end of the day, looking at 2,300 watts. At probably the most optimized you'll be able to get this kind of rig. And that's with titanium power supplies. I mean, that's like the top tier of power supplies that you can actually put into a rig like this. You're going to be using more power, not much more, but you'll be using more power with like a platinum, and you'll have to go 3 power supplies if you're going to use any gold setup. Like if you're going to use a 1600 G2, you won't actually have enough power output coming out of the actual adapters, like from the if you wanted to split enough of the SATAs to cover all the 13 GPUs and to have actually enough power connectors for the actual GPUs, you'll actually run out with twin 1600s at 12. You'll be just one power supply, or you'll be one cable short. So you could do it with with this board. If you were going to do 12, you could get 2 of the 1600 G2 power supplies, but you'd probably be really tipping off the top of those. And probably have them both at about 1,500 watts a piece. So you'd be right at 3,000 watts with that gold versus the titanium. So let's take a look at some dual mining. Well, actually, you know what? I'll look at some comments and questions. Let's take like, it's at 45 minutes right now. Let's take 5 minutes. I'll take through some questions. If you guys got super chats and stuff like that, I'll cover. And then we'll get into trying some dual mining with a 13 GPU 1080 Ti rig here. So if you guys got some questions, I'll take some questions. And then we'll get into doing the dual mining while I get that set up right now. I'll swap over here in a second here. And then of course, you know, we'll do this for about a half hour, and then the last half, I'm going to try to keep this at about an hour and a half. At the last 15 minutes, we'll just talk, and it probably will go over 15 minutes because I like to talk, obviously. But we'll talk like Bitcoin Hardfork, BCC. I know you guys are probably wanting to know some stuff about that and what's going on. How much RAM to keep the Linux happy with 13 GPUs? You could get by with 4 gigs of RAM on this. This thing is not using any memory at all. I think when we were doing a top on it to see, it was using like 800 megs of RAM. So right now it's got 16. And it's just because this build, we just maxed it out. We didn't max it out. I mean, 32 would be on the max on this board. But we put 16 gigs of RAM in it. You don't need that. You could get by, actually, I would actually go with 8 no matter what. On all our builds, we'd go with 8. Just because at some point, I mean, you got to look at all these hardware. Like this ASRock Pro BTC motherboard, this 6 GPU rig, I pulled some 290s out of this. So we had our R9 290s running on this board for like 3 years almost. And we divested the 290s. I got rid of them really cheap. I gave them away for $100 a piece, which is a really good deal when you were looking at some of the crazy markup. But I mean, so this thing was it was $600 in GPU cost. We recovered back essentially to pay not even for one of the 1080 Ti's. But that being said, those GPUs mined for 3 years. They more than like quadrupled their revenue back. And those GPUs were like expensive back then. But this board had 4 gigs of RAM in it, and it was still mining to this day fine with Ethereum, and had no problems. But if one of the algorithms come out and it starts offsetting some of its workload over to desktop memory and stuff, I don't want to have to go out and pull a whole bunch of 4 gig sticks out of my mining rigs. I want to already have 8 gig at least established in it as a single 8 gig stick, because if there is an algorithm out there that pairs with the CPU and requires system memory, I want to be able to go, oh shit, I want to be on that, and then I can go buy another 8 gig stick and throw it in there, and now I have 16. So I would, if you guys are just getting into it, you know, and you're pricing out a rig, I would you don't have to get crazy like this kind of memory here, where there's some memory here. So we'll grab some memory here. So, you know, single 8 gig sticks that you can buy, you know, if you can get them for $40-50, that's great. That's great. Here's a single 8 gig stick here, single 8 gig stick here. But you don't need, I was looking for a particular memory type. You don't need stuff like this to where it's like the Crucial Ballistics Elite, you know, with the big casing and all that stuff. You don't need one of these. I mean, you can get the cheapest name brand. Stick with name brand. Don't go like US Patriot or any of this crap that's like you've never heard of. Get like normal good system memory, Crucial, Trident, stuff like that. That's name brand. Because the last thing you want to do is try to run down while your rig keeps rebooting when everything's right, and it's just because you got crappy memory. But get an 8 gig single stick. You can do it with 4 gig. I'm not telling you you can't. You it, but if an algorithm comes out and requires system memory, you're going to want 8 gig. Oh, Bob Saget transferred your Bitcoin before the fork. No, man, you gotta wait. I haven't transferred any of mine yet. Part of it's the reason why is because you can't, well, you can, but there's not a lot of exchanges that have their inbound set up right now. So like Bitrex right now, if you had Bitcoin on there, gave you your BCC on there, or BCH. We'll codify that too. You know, obviously when they were doing the research on picking a 3-letter algorithm, they didn't put a lot of time into it, and BCC was already used. So you'll see BCH. It's the same stuff, guys. BCC equals BCH. BCH is their 3-digit token call sign. I mean, all I gotta say is that's par for the course for Russian to do something like this, and you didn't do the due diligence to figure out your freaking ticker, right? So, like, come on, guys. I'm kind of giving the BCC guys a hard time, but I mean, seriously, I mean, you could have just done like a cert. I mean, it was like a 5-minute thing with an intern to just check and see what's available. But BCH is their actual Bitcoin Cash, because BCC was BitConnect. It was used already. Got some other super chats here. Hey, Johns07, that 20 spot, buddy. I hear you. Maybe we'll get the backlit one. What? Yeah, so you know, there's some people asking questions if we're gonna show you guys how to get your BCC if you have it, or your BCH if you have it. I hadn't planned to kind of walk you through a wallet thing. Drop some comments on this video if you're not getting it out there and you're trying to do some research and you're not getting anybody that can explain it. We'll set up a side part of maybe the next video, and I'll walk you guys through cradle to grave on how to, if you have an existing Bitcoin address and you need to move it over to Bitcoin Cash, how to do that. We can walk you through that in our way of doing it, and just, you know, walk you guys through that. Let me know if that's something you guys want to see from us, and we'll do that. Yeah, BCC is BitConnect. Yeah, I liked the BCC. Kind of rolled off the tongue better. Bitcoin Cash, it made sense. I get why they wanted that acronym, but it already existed, and you just can't steamroll those dudes because you're just going to create confusion. And you know, and the worst case scenario for them, especially when BCC's on other exchanges, is, you know, you call your friend, hey man, buy some BCC. Oh, okay, BCC, no problem. And then they're buying the wrong stuff. BCCs benefit from it, right? So that's that kind of that extra benefit that you get from it. You need to make a beast mode t-shirt. We do. We have some t-shirts. We did order some t-shirts. Some of our old videos. We had some of the old stuff. They are not in here right now. I will be the first to show you. I cannot wait to show you guys some of the older t-shirts that we had remade that had like mining like a boss and some of the cool stuff that we had with it, and then we can give some away too. And I mean, I think we had like 99 problems, but a bit ain't one, and a few pretty good ones, I think, that were pretty slick for this. But you know, I really hope you guys do like and subscribe. I mean, this this build is like sick. There's not a lot of people that are probably going to do 13 GPUs and a 1080 Ti. It's a hugely expensive rig. I mean, these things at a minimum set, and we did link some down below that are, you know, from a cost standpoint, are that are $715 right now for 1080 Ti's. The cost have came down some. I think we were looking at getting these things. They were right around 800 bucks. So 800, 829, I think, somewhere around there. Because we pay retail, guys. We don't pay, like, we don't get some crazy deal. Like, I was literally going to Micro Center and buying GPUs and stuff. I wasn't necessarily going out, and there are other third-party companies like MA Labs and some of the like wholesale companies. If you have a tax ID, you can go out and acquire from. But I mean, the margin on that is so close to retail, it's ridiculous. Like, some of those places are actually more than retail. It's crazy the way GPUs and some, like, memory's the same way. It's ridiculous, but it's just what it is. I mean, where that cost is somewhere, somebody's making some money. That's all I know. And it isn't the people buying the GPUs right away. But the ones that we linked in the description, because you could not find these like on Amazon, we did show some cheaper, higher, I would call them higher quality versions than the Founders Editions, which are the Auroras. In the description, I think there was 19 of them left on Amazon right now. When we linked them in the description, they're about $715. It's still a very expensive graphics card. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you, like, hey, you're going to get your ROI back in 3 months. You probably will be lucky, at the current rate, you'd be lucky to get your ROI within the first year on doing on the current prices. But that's the way crypto works, is even if you had a big expensive rig like this, it's $12,000, $13,000 computer. You put something like this onto Ubik coin, and it's $1 a coin right now. A rig like this, 450 mega hash, you're talking maybe 60, 70 Ubik a week. That's $1, and then it turns around and gets, you know, a couple of real genuine use cases like Ubik's targeting enterprise. I'm using Ubik as an example. You could do this with Expanse too. You know, gets a good use case, and now they got a customer that's out on their platform. And Ubik overnight, like XMR and like Decred and all these other ones, go from being $1 to being $15, $20, $30, $40. And you know, it may take you 8 months mining it at a loss, barely making your power off, and then your payday is at the end. It may be. I mean, that's the way it's been for all of these other kind of cryptos, that the people that have been mining, like we've been mining since way back in the day. Now I'm talking like the beginnings of mining, like when you could do it with GPUs. We actually started mining with CPUs with Bitcoin, but when you start talking that, just hedging your rig to different coins, look at what they do, look at what their purpose is, look if they're active in the community, look if they have a Reddit, you know, that they're responding to questions, they're taking feedback. You see some of the collective audience, you know, discussion ending up in the coin, you know, saying, hey, it'd be nice if this did this, it'd be nice if it did this. You see that kind of with Dash right now. The only unfortunate thing with Dash is there was a huge pre-mine in the beginning, and you know, the founders got a lot of the Dash. There's a lot of there's a few addresses that have a lot of Dash, so it makes it kind of that weird, you know, circumstance where you don't have a huge, you know, you have a few people with a lot of it, and then you have this nice little spread and a nice price, and at any point is the risk that somebody's going to divest that and then tank the price, right? So, you know, anything that doesn't have a pre-mine, that isn't necessarily started as an ICO, so you had this huge centralized interest in the beginning of it, that literally started from scratch, you could only mine it, those are the coins that have very good distribution initially. At least the initial sets of coins, because not a lot of big mining power goes to it, because it's not the most profitable coin. So that's why I say, when you look at hedging your rig and you're kind of down and out of like, man, I bought this rig and it's not doing anything for me, I'm not making near what I thought I was going to make, I say you take that, you already made the investment, you have sunk costs now. If you keep it and you add some of that power, try some Expanse out, try some Ubik, try some of these other ones, get some of that currency in hand, because when it starts to appreciate, as all the sea rises all boats, as all of the crypto lifts, you're part of that. That's what the folks that invested heavy in Litecoin, then when it was $3 and they had their rigs pointed at script coins, which you had actual ASIC computer, you know, you had ASIC machines that mine script. There's still people that mine it with GPUs. I don't know why. I don't mine with GPUs. I stopped mining script coins actually in August of 14, because it was just, it made no sense. There was a lot of ASICs that came out, and I just switched over to, you know, well, I was doing Doge for a little bit, did a lot of Feathercoin at the time, and then in September of 15, we switched most of the mining rigs over to Ethereum. So, you know, and Ethereum there in the beginning wasn't worth a ton. So it's one of those things, you got to look at them. You know, GPU mining is going to be around for a long time, guys. As long as GPUs can still do it, there's still going to be a lot of people buying GPUs. You're not going to turn away that. I mean, there's people that use GPU farms like this, same kind of cost as this, for like folding at home, which is doing good, but they're not even getting a cost out of it, right? They're not getting anything out of it. They're getting the contribution of their hash power to their actual computational power, in that case, to help better a cause. But you know, you're looking at people that spend money on these rigs for a while. So there's, you know, if you're thinking it's just miners and then you're going to dump it or whatever else, and your next audience is only gamers, no. There's SETI at home. There's other people that use complete GPU farms. There's actually people that are white hats that'll use rigs like this to actually go use password crackers. You know, big GPU farms like this that'll actually have the folks that do that. That actually people that pay for a service to say, hey, I locked myself out of this account. I want to hire a white hat to sit there and crack through and see if they can bust, you know, brute force it. And they'll use these with specific Linux builds to actually point to, you know, hard break hard wallets. So I mean, there's a lot of uses for these, not just for the gamers and everybody else. And there's a lot of people building rigs like this so that you can dual purpose and do stuff for. And don't do too much research, like trying to crack people's passwords. You're gonna just get in trouble. Oh, I just disconnected that. Let's look and see if you guys have any other questions. I kind of get talking. It's 1 hour after it. Let's try some dual mining with this, and then I'll divest from that. I kind of get into that little piece where I have a talking, and let's get this thing set up with dual mining. You guys can ask me some questions. I'm looking at it on the other screen here, or the screen here, as I'm moving this over. Let's see if that actually saves right. I'm going to reboot the rig. Now, if this comes up and the syntax is right, I'm going to switch to the screen. That way you guys can see what I did in simple mining. That way you understand and you have an example of that if you were trying to do this at home. Let me switch back where I can see you guys' chat. BBT coin, real news. How can you dual mine ETH in the library? That's exactly what we're doing right now. And I'm going to switch it back to the screen and show you how in a second. Is there a difference between Megahash, Windows, and Linux on the same equipment? Richie M, yes there is. It's a little slower in Linux. A little. And what I mean by that, by about 1 to 2 megahash per card. Slower in Linux. Full on tour, you have multiple, you have 16 different wallets. Yes, there's, unfortunately, short of Jax, and Jax doesn't recommend you mining straight to them. At least lots of increments from Jax. I mean, I've been mining Ethereum to Jax for a long time, but I have it pay out actually in full blocks. So, it's not incremental a lot, so it's just one big transaction. But there isn't a lot of real good choices right now, mainly because they're like different entities. You know, like the people that are building the wallet for a particular coin isn't necessarily going to take the time and effort to go incorporate everybody else's chain. And that's therein lies part of the problem. So it's more of a third-party entity needs to come in that's built like one of the third-party wallets and actually comes in and makes a decision, kind of like Jax did, to support multiple different chains and wallets, and then but still gives you a wallet that you control the private keys to. It's just a lot of effort for somebody to do that and maintain it, and you know what coins are going to be good. You know, they're going to, like Jax does it with a lot of the ERC20 coins because they're tied to Ethereum, so it makes it simpler for them. But if they started just like incorporating like, you know, like all the other different types of currencies, it's just a lot more complex for them to do. Let's see here. Let's see if this thing comes up. I set it to do the dual mine. And reboot. It actually just rebooted, so I don't. We'll see if it was just bad syntax or if it was like, yeah, no. Well, because we may have to bump the power up, because we did downgrade the power quite a bit. I'm going to take it back to 225. And then we'll bring it back down. I want to make sure it has enough juice to do its operation. And then I'll switch it to the main screen here in a second, guys. That way you can see that and you don't have to see me kind of behind a rig. See if I can see your guys' questions. You guys can shoot me questions while I'm sitting here. Just found a good deal on RX 588 gig dual OCs. Are these good cards for Ethereum? The dual 8 gigs OCs are they run very hot. So unless you're going to keep them cool, I would say kind of steer clear of the ASUS duals. Those are great for like gaming computers. For mining, they have no back shield on them. And they're just, you know, you're going to have to put a lot of air on them to keep them cool. Otherwise, those things are going to rifle straight up to 85 Celsius. Somebody asked about the update in the multi-miner. Yes, I am dropping an update to the multi-miner after this video tonight. I have enough done with it. We have music coin in there. I think Stygium. I don't know. There's a new coin that people have been asking me to put in there. We got that in there. And then we got a few more updates to like Feather Coin. I think we got the AMD driver in there. So the 5.4 is released tonight. It'll be after this video. All right, looks like it came up after that hard reboot. That's what I'm screaming, BBT. Benjamin G. Haley, I didn't see what you said. Will you try the new GPU exclusive for mining? I have been trying to get a hold of them, guys. I cannot find, one, I can't find anywhere to buy them. Oh, this thing's beeping at me. 1769. We're gonna have to take it off of this because this thing will go boom. I'm gonna shut this down because we're at 1800 on this, or 1770 on the actual kilowatt. This thing starts freaking out after about 1680, and pretty much says, if you don't shut me down, I'm gonna go boom. So if you ever hear your kilowatt going beep beep beep, you need to take it off. We're going to switch it back to the other one, so we know that we're going to be overtaxing the one power supply, so we wouldn't want to dual mine with this without changing some config here, or at least really decreasing the power, which we're going to try here in a minute too. I'm gonna bring this back up with the first power supply on there, knowing that we're pushing the second power supply past its 1600 rating. The T2 will actually go all the way to almost 2000. I've had one of those things at almost 2000 watts and it was still doing fine. I would not recommend holding it at that though. It was more of, this is what I mean when I tell you guys about having enough headroom to be able to peek over the RMS, you know, on the PSU. Having that headroom. If we tried that with like a G2, it would have just popped. We probably would have actually blew the power supply. If it was a gold G2 EVGA, or if it was a 1500 AXI from Corsair, we would have blown it up right there. That would have popped it. That thing would have started to engage, and it would have either threw it into safety mode, or it would have popped the power supply. The T2 has the headroom all the way up to 2000 watts. So you can see that, okay, the 1700 is too much. Let me redo some configuration. If we were going to have this always dual mine, I would have to do some reconfiguration. If I couldn't get it below the 1600 limit, we'd have to add another power supply. Just because I wouldn't want to always be running that thing at max. So we're letting this come back up, and then I'll switch back over and you guys can see it. No, there's no multi-miner. The reason why you guys don't see when you see like ETH and Decred and ETH and Sia and ETH and Library, the reason why you see that is because the CPU cycles that the miner requires to mine ETH, it doesn't require a lot of the GPU. When I say CPU cycles, I'm saying the GPU on the actual graphics card. It's not taxing the GPU a ton. That's why you can bring the GPU down. It's actually taxing the memory map that actually it loads into the memory, and it leverages that portion of the actual GPU. If we simplify it down, so that's why you can take a GPU intensive algorithm, something like Decred or Library or any of that, and actually dual mine. So both of them kind of go back into each side of the card and actually max out the card. So if you're looking for like used GPUs and somebody's like, yeah, I just mined Ethereum, you know what? As long as they did it responsibly and didn't like juice up the GPU if they ran it under volted and all that, then more than likely that GPU is perfectly fine. They just ran the memory kind of, if they ran a pretty decent overclock on it. But bottom line, that's probably a pretty decent GPU. If they were like, yeah, it dual mined for 2 years, it's pretty much maxing the card out. I mean, that's maxing the GPU and maxing the memory side of it out, and the bus and everything. That entire card is lit up like Christmas. And that's why it uses more energy too, is because it's actually taxing a lot more of the card. So why you don't see, and what I was going into that is why you don't see a lot of like Zcash in another algorithm, is because most of the time the algorithm that you're pairing it with is also using the GPU. So essentially you're just trading cycles in that clock cycle. You're just like, I'm working here, no, I'm working here, nope, I'm working here. And so you'll have a decrease, a pretty significant decrease in power, so in hash power on both sides of the algorithms. So that's why you don't see a lot of that pairing. If you had and Zcash uses some of the memory too. So I mean, you're not going to see a Zcash, at least with the current architecture, you're not going to see a Zcash and, let's say, Library and stuff like that. Now, if you have a 6 GPU rig and you're wanting to do something like some quad mining with like burst, like we were going to do that with a rig, but we've been just really busy trying to get 13 GPUs and the bigger setups. We will come back around and do that quad build at some point, where we put like I was thinking about doing it with that 7700K, but 7700K is boring to you guys. I'm not going to bore you guys with an i7. What we'll do with like a quad build is we'll do that with like, the $1,000 Threadripper, in a CPU case. Maybe put like a Threadripper in a case like this, and then have like the mining rig just with the GPUs off of this thing, with all the risers coming out of a setup like this, and then have a couple like maybe 8 terabyte or 10 terabyte hard drives in there. Do like burst on the hard drives, do like XMR on the Threadripper, and then do dual mining on the GPUs, all on the same rig. Now that would be a cool build, but it's only going to be like a 6 GPU rig. Technically, we could get crafty with it if we put it like in an AMD and an NVIDIA build in Windows, but I think that's kind of pushing it. And you could kind of do some kind of weird, like, 6 different algorithms. You could do like ETH, or at least 5. You could do ETH and like Library and ETH and Sia on the other 6 GPUs, and then do XMR on the processor, and then do burst on the hard drives. That's getting into crazy talk. I hear this thing spin up. Let's see what she's running at. $13.51. Back on that. Let's see if it should come up on the screen here. I'm going to look on Simple Mining. Yeah, it's actually mining. It just hasn't popped up on that screen yet. let that try to come up, and I'll show you kind of what simple mining is showing this thing running at. It's not throwing it to the video out yet, but it is mining right now. We'll throw that up here. And we'll switch over to this scene here. So this is what's going on right now on the rig. We're looking at, this is using library, and it looks like we're at 460 mega hash for ETH and 448 mega hash on library on this rig right now. So that's what those two dual mining are. And here is what we're using under Claymore. So you can see, and you can come back and look at the video. So you add dpool, stratum plus TCP. There's the this is using CoinMine. There's the CoinMine port, and then the login, and then the worker. And then you have to have this dcoin LBC, space LBC on the end of it. That's your entire syntax that you would need. And then what you would end up changing is that for your Ethereum address, and you would change, if you were using CoinMine, you would just change your login name, and then of course if you had your default password. So that's using library. Looks like it's temperature throttling a little bit, or I lost one GPU down, 27, it's coming back up. I'm going to give this one more, I'm going to give it a reboot real quick and see if we can get it to come up on the screen for you can see that. I'm going to bring this up right now on the screen and let you see it on the screen. Yeah, that's almost 800 mega hash on one rig with the dual mine. It's just 480 and 440, or 460 and 440. This is we'll leave it on this screen real quick for you guys can see simple mining coming up. So we were about, on the dual mining, we were about 1760 on the secondary power supply and about 1350 on the primary. So, you know, you're talking 3,000 watts of power with the dual mine on this rig, and that's without the power being adjusted. I mean, we could probably bring it down to about 2,800, but that's still really pushing it. Maybe 2,900. I don't think we can get it down to 28. It loves just setting that screen. It takes it a second, guys. You gotta let it do its thing. Now it'll set at this black screen for a little bit, and we're gonna let it run. We're gonna let it run on this black screen for a second. I'm gonna leave it there for a second. I'll answer some questions as it's trying to go through its other stuff. It's not showing me that output, but we'll see what it comes back with. I'll answer some questions. When people ask what the profit of a particular rig is, it's very predicated on the time and date that you're looking that thing up. So Ethereum for 400 and let's say 70 mega hash with 2,600 watts. If it's optimized, this machine would be pulling in about 4 Ethereum, almost 5 Ethereum a month at the current the current rate. Difficulty I'll adjust again in a couple weeks, and that'll go down even more. Oh, it came up. So there it is in the flesh. So you can see what it's putting out. So that's what it's doing for library. So 463 and 444 library. Now let's take a look at some Decred. Now Decred is not very good with NVIDIA. I'm going to save this in there, make sure it loads right. I'm going to give this a reboot. All right, we're gonna try some dual mining with Decred, and while that's going, let me see if I can get another. Let's see here. Simple mining. Let me bring up. I'm getting queued some Zcash, guys. You guys want to see some Zcash? All right, this should be Decred. So here's some Decred. 1150. Decred's uses a little less energy, so where the library and the Ethereum with the unmodified really power settings on these running at TDP at 225, 225 watts. We were looking at yeah, the cred's horrible on this. $248 or $228. Let's try to set the 26, 27. Yeah, 26 or 27 intensity with it. So not real super. I mean, this whole rig is like 4,000. That's like not good with the cred. But that kind of gives you an idea of the cred. And if that's 11 something, that's the power on the other power supply should be around 1,500, and that's about 1150 on the power with the dual mine. So it gives you an idea of 13 GPUs there, 1080 Ti's with the cred in that. So we're gonna let that reboot again, and now we're gonna push Zcash to this. Maybe. It may do a full reboot because it has to reload that new miner. So it's doing Zcash now. I know a lot of people were asking for, you know, what's 13 1080 Ti's doing Zcash? How's the clarity of the stream tonight, guys? Is it okay? Good. Now it takes a second with this black screen. It has to go through some stuff. So I kind of monitor it with the power. As it starts to cycle through the power, it's sitting at 150 watts, 140 watts, just chilling, and then it'll cycle up. We'll just let it sit here for a second. I answer some questions while it's figuring its life out. Here it goes. We have a heartbeat. This may be a first. I don't know if I've seen 13 1080 TI's in a rig doing Zcash yet. We have one GPU that hasn't reported yet, 2 GPUs that haven't reported yet. Let's see if they all report. Woo, there we go. We got them all reporting and spinning up. We broke 9,000. Let's see what she spins up to. Power 1374, so we're definitely using some juice. We're probably pushing 1800 watts on the other. We got one GPU at 80 Celsius, so it's gonna cycle down some power, some speed. We broke 9,000. As it's temperature throttling. Try some Pascal. Well, I'm pushing a new setting to it. We're going to Pascal, so we're about 9,000, 9,050 I think was the top. So it's gonna reboot now. I just pushed Pascal to it. So Pascal coin. Check that. So what we'll do in this video too is I'll timestamp it to this part, because this is what a lot of people are going to care about, is you know, what did the machine do, what was its main performance, you know, on the different algorithms. So you guys are just getting to see this live. We'll do a proper episodal video with this to show, you know, like charts and all that. A lot of people have asked me to kind of reach out and do that. You know, kind of like the other YouTubers where we put charts and stuff up. I just find it far more valuable, and you guys can give me feedback on this. And I'm kind of talking into this camera, I guess, right now with the big screen up. But I kind of find it valuable to do this stuff in front of you guys, because you guys know it's not bullshit. You guys see it, you guys hear it, you guys see the power usage. You guys are actually experiencing it with us. I didn't go there and pre-trial this stuff. I'm actually just copying and pasting there. I like to keep it genuine with you guys, because if we run into an issue, I don't want the community to. If this was just a review channel, that's all it is, right? But that's not what this channel is. This channel is also kind of like to ensure that if you're going to go through and you're going to spend the capital and you're going to spend the time of building something like this, and if this thing pops a circuit or blows something up, I want you to experience it with me so we can work through it together. And then that helps you guys become stronger, you know, in the community of taking care of each other, helping each other out, you know, being part of that whole you know, niche, that group that we're in that do the mining. So, you know, I know it's not going to be for everybody, but have you ever, somebody asked me a question, have you ever tried to water cooling? Yes, we've done some water cooling stuff. Look at a couple videos ago, we did We did well. We have some pre-built water cooling kits that come with like the RX series, like the Pro Duos and stuff are water cooled. But we haven't done like custom looped or anything like that. That gets super expensive, and having a series loop, your first few GPUs are just going to nuke the inflow of the water to the other GPUs. So you really kind of almost need independent loops with independent radiators, or some other somebody that's really good at thermodynamics to figure out a good solution. I hear it spinning up, so it should give me a screen here in a second. It may take another full reboot with simple mining, though. It seems to be the thing. Yeah, I see it probing for an alive pool. For now, we're going to try and Pascal here. Yeah, it says pool not available. I guess the default pool that's in Simple Mining's for Pascal 5.5 is not operational. That's okay. Let's try some Digibyte. We'll come back to Pascal if I can. I'll pull my config for Pascal, and we'll pop it in there. But I'll get this thing rebooting with Digibyte. And we're going to do a fixed reboot here. So quiet. That's off. This is actually a pretty quiet machine. These things are not like the 290s. The old 290s, man, were like hair dryers, man. You turn those things on, it was like a hair dryer on low. I'm just leaving it on this screen just that way you guys can see the boot up. Xterra, yeah, we can add the PEC flag on. I'll go ahead and do that right now just to have it in there, and then maybe we'll close the episode out here in a little bit, and I'll let you see. I'll let you see it one last time. So this, I believe, is Digibyte. Maybe it's not going to work. So I'm using the default settings in Simple Mining for some of these. I'm going to put my config in there because it seems like all the ones. So the ones that have been working were the default ones that I've been using on the Simple Mining. The ones that have been working are my configs. Go figure. So let's look here. ETH, Pascal. All right, so that's ETH and Pascal that I just sent over. And then I'll come back in and do the Crypto Night algorithm with my own settings, because it seems like only my own settings are working for some reason. And the default ones that Claymore has, or that Simple Mining has in there, is not working. Let's do a fresh reboot of this. So this will be ETH and Pascal, and then we'll set up. Let's get queued up the next one. You guys want to see ETH and Sia also? And do you want to see XMR? If not, I can start taking some questions and we can wrap it up. But I'm trying ETH and Pascal right now. But let me know if you want to see ETH and Sia. Flu Jerky, yes. Ubik and Sia will be in the multi-miner 5.4 that's out tonight. Actually, in the multi-miner, I have the Ubik itself is all of the different Ethereum standards with it. So Ubik and Sia, Ubik and Library, Ubik and Pascal, Ubik and one more of them. Ubik and Decred, yes. So it's all of them. All of them are in there in the 5.4 that's going out tonight. Five Rings Promotions brings up something funny. So if you guys follow us on Twitter, I got a funny story why this is booting up. So last night, I had tweeted out to Republican Gaming, ASUS's official Twitter feed, and to Katy Perry, and I'll tell you why Katy Perry. So my daughter's birthday was actually today, 9th birthday, and I had put out there, she's like a crazy good gamer. Like, she's been gaming, I mean, you see all this technology here. We've always had technology. Those kids have like crazy. In one of the episodes, we built her a new PC, right? I mean, like, my two daughters, my 6-year-old daughter and my 9-year-old daughter, or 8-year-old daughter at the time, both got new Ryzen X, or 1600Xs, 16 gigs of RAM, solid state M2 drives, and they both are rocking 1080 Ti's. And they have both 1920, like pretty nice 1920 monitors. Well, I wanted to upgrade, possibly do like a 2560 by 1440 like gaming monitor. I'm talking like high refresh rate, like 144 hertz, like good monitor, right? And like she's a like pretty avid Overwatch player, and I've actually entered her in tournaments. We've taken her to places. She actually plays in tournaments. Like esports gaming tournaments at like 9 years old, 8 years old, right? And like it's player of the game, and like it's hilarious. But I tweeted out to Republica Gaming and Katy Perry saying, "Hey, it's her 9th birthday. Do I get her Katy Perry tickets? She has never been to a concert, and you know she's a 9-year-old girl. That's what they listen to, right? So unfortunately, Taylor Swift's not in. That would be my pick, but." Katy Perry's going to be here like on October 22nd in our area. So I said either that or am I going to get her like a 27-inch Republican Gaming, you know, like their top monitor. It's like an $800 monitor, you know, for her Overwatch gaming and like tournament stuff, right? So, you know, Republican Gaming's kind of took it and retweeted it and then actually put a global poll out. And actually on Twitter, on their page right now, they have a poll that is asking, that is taking Katy Perry or a Republican Gaming monitor. So you guys can go out there and vote. It's up there for another hour or another 20 hours or so. There's already like 2,000 votes. It's already kind of went quasi viral, which is hilarious. And actually, it got a like from Katy Perry, which is freaking hilarious to me. So it's pretty funny. So go out there. You can vote and see which one she can get. I don't think this thing is this coming up. Yes, it is coming up finally. Maybe probing for a live pool. Maybe it won't come up. We'll see. So this is Pascal. Nah, you guys are funny. Get both. I hear it spinning up. We'll let this set for a second. It's using energy. Not much energy, but it's using energy. Miner has crashed. Oh, that's using his. Cynic. Oh, yeah, it was still set to his. Sorry. That's the problem. Copy. Save. We gotta let this reboot one more time. When I put in the actual pool information in SimpleMining's UI, when you're in there putting in your pool information, you gotta make sure on the left-hand side that you have it checked. So like they have all the miners on the left, like the radio button selector, and then when you click on the mining pool or the actual miner and you paste in the pool, you got to make sure the radio button is selected on the left, because what happened was I pasted in the pool information and then I hit save, but it was still stuck on the one that I had tried earlier. So this should be ETH and Pascal now. And I'll look at your guys' comments. I saw some of you guys saying that get both, which is hilarious. So long story short, we've already got we did buy her the Katy Perry tickets, but if I am leaving the poll up to the point of if enough say get the monitor, we may get the monitor too. We'll see. ASUS Republican Gaming is a solid by like getting exposure to it, which is hilarious, and actually to the point that we actually got somebody is star power. Even if you don't like her or whatever. I mean, people have different tastes in music. I'm not like I'm rocking Katy Perry all the time, right? But I mean, when you have daughters, you understand. It's just a thing that happens. Spoiled grill. Oh, I got it. Dibic CEO USA, like a boss with the 10 spot. Dual mining, do you have to increase your power at 75%? If at 75% for... yes, for the dual mining, you should have to... I mean, if it's stable at that, that's great, but I doubt it will be. Everything I've experienced with it, I've had to bring the power limit up. It's just... because it's going to put a lot of thread on the actual GPU itself, and if you starve the GPU, you're just going to have some weird results, or you may have a lower end performance on it if it is stable. Just try it with both. It's just, when you're dual mining, you're using some energy, but you are double downing on the coin. And a lot of people look at ROI. They look at, oh, well, that doesn't make no sense if I'm going to use more power and stuff. If you are gaining additional currency, and in the long run that currency goes up substantially, it was like the best play you could have ever done. You spend a little more power. You already had the hardware. You have the sunk cost. If you have the overhead available on your power supplies, and you can afford to pay for the extra power that it's like a quarter rig increase in power at the end of the day, right? So I mean, if your rig's running 740, 700 watts, 800 watts of power, and now it's running 1100, 1200 watts of power because you're dual mining, it's like a quarter of your rig that now you're getting a full units of if you just ran the full rig on that actual mining, dedicated, you'll get a little more, but it's worth it in the long run, especially like if you were dual mining Decred when it first came out and stuff with Ethereum's, with Claymore's miner. I mean, it paid very forward to you when Decred had its big increase, right? So it's kind of goes for the same way with all the currencies, You get as many as you can. That's why we're super attracted to Ubik, and not just because of the potential of generating more revenue from it, but that it has a strong case of use for it. I see it running, or it's definitely cooking. Let's look at simple mining. It's definitely running in the background. It's not displaying. And we had this with the other. Let's check the power. I'm going to switch it over to simple mining so you guys can see what it's doing. 1373 right now on the primary power supply. So we knew when this thing was running about 13. This thing sucks. 1370. There you go. 1374. So when we know when this is running about 1300, the other power supply is running at about 1700. Since this thing's not displaying on the screen right now, I'm just going to pull this so you guys can see it on simple mining. We'll give it a reboot and see if it comes up after the second reboot. So we'll let this come up here. You guys should be able to see this now. So this is what we're running right now with the two. So this is Pascal, and we're getting 4600 on the Pascal. So it's 465 and 4657 on Pascal. And see, if I come in here and go to Claymore, you guys will see that it's selected on that. And then here's the settings for Pascal. So there's your Ethereum. And then you start from D pool and you add in this. So Pask, USA Nano Pool, and then you got your worker. And then at the end of your this is like an exchange wallet that you have to have, or this I think is a local wallet for me. But you can put your exchange wallet in there from like an exchange mine, and there's the rest of the settings. Let's switch back to this and see if it actually will come up, and then we'll try XMR after this, and then we'll end it on doing one more run on. For people that had not seen, we'll do one more run on the Zcash. So yeah, I'm not seeing it come up here. So I'm going to bring it down. We're going to try it one more time because we had success on the second, after it started working last time, we brought it back down, we brought it right back up, and then it displayed it on the thing. It might be just some kind of a fluke after the first time it sets up. It doesn't allow us to see the GPUs. Let's see if it does it on the second one, and then that'll be the second algorithm that we are able to see that with simple mining. It might be just something with simple mining in general. It's build for this. Again, if people were wanting to know, this is the simple mining. This is the NVIDIA build. This is not any of the special like Z170 build. This is the actual just the standard NVIDIA build, and then it auto builds itself up to, I think, to version 1111, 3.1s, 4.1s, which is the latest version for that. So we'll let this try to go one more time. All right, so let's see if it actually will show us Pascal and this. It should be Ethereum and Pascal next. And I should try Ubik. You guys want to see Ubik too? Just Ubik by itself? Let's see if it actually goes. I'm leaving it on that screen for right now, guys. For you guys have the, yeah, it looks like it's coming up. So there it is. It takes a full, once it starts running, and if it doesn't display on your screen, you can power it down and bring it back up the second time it runs. It throws it up on the screen for us. So there's the 13. And this is why we do this stuff live, guys, because you get to actually see it. You get to time it. You get to figure out, like, oh, my computer's doing that too. I'm not crazy. It does take a little bit to boot up. I find this stuff invaluable for you guys to be able to see. And there's your performance with Pascal. So this is Ethereum and Pascal at the same time. It's Pascal coin. So we're looking at about 4,600 mega hash total for Pascal on this entire 13 GPU rig, and about 460 mega hash for Ethereum at the same time. And we're looking at 1375 on the actual 1375-ish. This thing sucks reflecting. How about that? 1373. There we go. 1373 on the power supply, the primary power supply, and then we're talking about 1700 on the other power supply, which is really putting the tax on it. So we're right about 3,000, almost a little under 3,000 watts on this entire rig. Let's get this other, let's try XMR, and then we'll try Ubik, and then we'll finish with Zcash one more time. Let's see if the standard XMR settings in simple mining work without me having to mess with it. Let's take a chance. Let's do a full rig reboot. Should be pushing the settings to that here in a second. There goes the setting kill. So we'll leave it on this screen. I've tried to leave up the screen for you guys can see everything going on. hopefully you're liking that. Oh, looks like we got a super chat. BBT, how can we add NiceHash dual mining on multi-miner for accredited indicator? Currently have an AMD and simple mining, both dual mining using NiceHash's address. Yeah, you could totally do that. DBX CEO, just send me your settings. Send me everything that you're modifying the multi-miner with, and then I'll see if I can get it incorporated really quick. It's bitsmetrippin@gmail.com. Send that over, and I'll see if I can get your NiceHash set up the same config. Just send me your config, just the whole thing, and then we'll see if we can add that as another entry for NiceHash. Savosky, I have a 6-card 1070 rig running at 184 mega hash. Is there any other settings with the that looks pretty good. If it's stable at 650, I mean, you could try to go 725 and get a little more out of it, but I mean, that's 650 seems to be the common place to where a lot of the 750s like to rest with stability. If you're really pulling the volts down and the actual power settings down. It's hard to keep them at 800. You need some crazy good graphics cards, high quality, just unicorns to hold them over, maintain over 1,000 in Windows, or around 800 to 1,000, overclock on memory. Most people land at about 600 to 650. Some people can hold pretty stable at 700. I have one 1070 rig that's stable at 750. And it's just rock style. I mean, it's just luck. I mean, because most of the other 1070 rigs that we have do not do 750 stable. We'll see if this thing comes up. Now, this is XMR, and this is the default settings. From a fresh reboot. I hear it spinning up, so hopefully it switches over. See, are any other questions here? Daniel Strauss, hey BBT, nice to see this rig running and testing live. Yes, I agree. I love testing this stuff live. I like the excitement of the random. I like challenges too. So, and anybody that's been doing mining knows that this world is a challenge. Trying to figure out the inconsistencies, like right now. Set at 400 watts. Let's give it a few more seconds, see if it actually comes up. I'm going to look at simple mining and see if it's giving me any kind of feedback. No screen session found. Any thoughts on the new Claymore version? I did see that 9.8 came out. I have not messed with it yet. We were going to put it in 5.4. Maybe it'll be in there tonight. I like doing a little more testing than just dropping it in there, though. Nice, Fluke Jerky. No problem, brother. Glad that you're part of the live stream too, man. Gone are the days of the 700 and 800 live streamers. It's been we've been holding around 250, but I love all of you. All right, so this thing is not giving any kind of reporting back. So I'm going to try one more reboot with it with XMR, and then I'll put my own settings for XMR because it seems like that's the common theme here with the built-in settings from Simple Mining. We'll go ahead and preset that up right now. And see if we can leverage some settings here. So I don't know if I have settings that for that mining. Let me see here. Booting? Nothing? Let's give it a second. Let's see if it spins up any. 190 watts, not doing anything yet. Let's just push Ubik to it. Let's test the Ubik real quick, guys, and then we'll do one more Zcash. Then I'll take some question and answer, and we'll wrap it up. It's gotten pretty long for this stream tonight. I hope you guys enjoy this 1080 Ti. I mean, we kind of went a little long stream, but I wanted to kind of go the gambit with it of what's in the realm with at least simple mining. We're very limited when you start talking of the same types of cards, like 13 NVIDIA cards. You're really limited to where you're in Linux, right? There's not like we tweeted out a couple pictures of trying to work this build of getting them all to run in Windows. And we actually got them all to where Windows would come up and it showed them all in the device manager and there was no exclamation points, but we couldn't do anything else. It just, whenever time we tried to mine, it just wouldn't work. I'll come back to that. We'll just come back to this screen for a second while that's coming up. So we're doing Ubik right now. We'll try that. And then we'll try Zcash, and then we'll call it. And I'll do some more question and answers. Yeah, and then we'll get 5.4 out tonight. It'll probably be about an hour and 20 minutes after this. Here comes Ubik. Now this is not dual mine, this is just Ubik. We'll see if it comes up. Let's see if we got some. Digibyte is actually in 5.3. I think we have it in 5.3. I know it's in 5.4. We have Music Coin in there also. And then I think Coin Stygian. Stygian? I don't know. Get a reboot. Let me look at my settings here. We might have had a different overclock setting for that. Yeah, we had this. We had the overclock settings way up. We'll see if this thing can handle it. I got the overclock setting to 1500 megahertz memory. I hear some. You guys hear Discord? Is that coming through the video? That's coming back through. Set the spec over here. I think it's my phone making the noise for Discord. Let's see if the 1500 works. If 1500 doesn't, we'll bring it back down. Earth dropping the 5 spot again. Like a boss. Help us get a couple of those Vegas. Since these companies won't send them to us, man, you guys are the ones helping us support and to get some of that information out there. We're going to be testing this too in one of the next episodes here. Is a lot of people have been asking me about Seasonic. Let me switch scenes here. Back. So while this thing's trying to figure its life out, we've picked up a Seasonic. I mean, they don't sell real powerful ones at the local micro center. So we picked up the 80 Platinum Plus. This is the 760 watt Seasonic. So we'll kind of do a more of a deeper dive review with this. One of the other builds that we're doing, we'll put some other cards that'll essentially a 6-card rig that'll leverage just 700 watts, a little under 700 watts. We'll be using that with it. And let you guys know how the Seasonics go, if they're efficient or not. Nope, we're gonna change these settings because it is just in a perpetual reboot loop. Let's set that to that. So 1500 is a no bueno. And we'll let Ubi come back up on 1200 overclock. Like it's trying to come up. I'll switch back to this here once we get it all the way back up, and then we'll end it on I'll take a poll if you guys want to see Zcash one more time. Alright, let's see here. It looks like it wants to play ball here. Let's see. Maybe. Let's see, it's drawing some power here. Not drawing any power. 90 watts. Maybe something with hold pull. I have any of my hold pull representatives in the channel? We having some hold pull problems? Here it's spinning up now. Support at holdpull.com. Nice. I don't see anything going on with hold pull here. Oh, it says it's mining. I'm getting mining. It's just maybe this new version of Flamore is just not displaying right, because I showed it to 467. It's just not updating the screen. Yeah, I'm actually getting the mining console here on there. It's just not reporting back to this screen. And I'll show you guys what I mean. So I switch this over here. Here's the mining console right here. Share accepted. Fan speeds. If I hit S, it's giving me GPUs. There it is, 465 right now. So it looks like it's something to do with simple mining. So you guys need to watch your display. He just updated the dashboard and the way some of this works. So it looks like he's got a few bugs on the display now, reporting back to the miner reporting back to the local display. But the service port that it's connecting into, or the import, is porting the right information over. So I bet you if we do a reboot of this real quick, actually I'm going to reload the miner, so it won't even reboot. It'll just bounce this miner real quick. We'll see if it comes up and see if that fixes the issue. BX CEO, I'm having a problem with the new build using the BioStar 2BT50 and the H81 Pro BTC. I have 4 570s, 1 480, 1 580, 2 750 on 2 750 G2 power supplies, both burned down after plugging the Molex into the motherboard. 4 470 80 So you should be looking at more than enough power, because you're looking at all of those, all of that should be less than 1500 watts of power, way less. I would say get a 1000 watt P2 or a 1200 watt P2 single power supply, and only use 2 of the SATA connectors on each of your risers. So you should have 3 individual strands, 2 by 2 by 2 on your setup. And then on the 1000 watt P2 and the 1200 watt P2, you actually have 4 different connectors. The TB250 12 GPU board requires you to have 2 separate power strands, 2 separate 4-pin power strands to go individually into that. You cannot cross them. You can't have one strand powering them both. Wendell Jefferson like a boss, dropping in a 20 hotspot towards the end. No problem, brother. Doing the knowledge drop is what we're trying to do. You guys help us too. I mean, it's not all. Miss BBT's here, by the way, doing a drop in. Kind of, she just got back, so she just dropped in. This is a community. I mean, we spend a lot of time on this, and we try to make sure we bring the information to you guys. But you guys often point out things. You guys often want to see other things, and help us get better at what we do too. This is a community. This just isn't us. This is you guys too. So, you know, we appreciate that 20 spot. We'll use that to help embolden the channel and get some more stuff brought to you guys. I'm actually probably needing to get another light back here for you guys, since you're seeing stuff back here. But we take that and we reuse that to make this a better production. So we appreciate that. Any of your guys' contributions that you guys do. Even if you guys aren't dropping the super chats, I mean, we love the super chats. You guys are awesome for that. You know, hitting the affiliate links, hitting the stuff. If you guys are out there, if you guys are going to go out there and spend money and buy a rig and stuff, I mean, if it's not us, hook somebody else up out there with hitting those affiliate links. You know, with CryptoMind and some of the other YouTubers too. I mean, it's, you know, you hit those affiliate links. That's another way to help everybody out too. So we appreciate that too. You guys do. You guys are awesome at it. I mean, you guys are hitting Amazon and buying this stuff too, and Newegg and everything that you guys hit. It looks like this thing might pop over. Let's see here if it's going to actually display for us. It's running now. You burn the motherboard, not the power supplies. Where at in the motherboard? So when you burned up your motherboard, did you actually burn it up? Like if this is I'm going to do it on this screen here. Where we've seen these H81 Pro BTCs pop at, when we draw too much power with the incorrect risers, they burn. So this is the CPU, and this is their first 4-pin Molex. Got a bad reflection here. The power usually burns up right here, right in this area, right around this 4-pin Molex. Is that where you burned up your motherboard? Because if you did, what was happening is you had your 4-pin Molexes plugged in, and you were overjuicing. What I do is I leave these unplugged now on these 4-pin Molex on the H81 Pro BTCs with powered risers. There's some weird stuff that goes on when you have the 4 pins plugged in, and you'll end up burning this up right here. There's a trace here that ends up smoking on these H81 Pro BTCs. I would assume the TB250 is having the same problem.
So the USB and SATA port stopped working. Isn't that close to right where you're at? USB drive.
Yep. So that was the same problem we've had before. So the USB and the SATA ports. I actually have one of our boards here. I'm gonna switch over while this thing's trying to figure its life out. One of our TB250s also had the same problem. This is a common problem with this board for some reason. that we're seeing. I have 2 of these right now going back for support, and we lost all the USBs and power also. So this is a repeat event going on with the 12 GPU board. Requires you to put in the 4-pin Molex. You have to put them in. Yeah, I know it's actually running. It's just not displaying here. I mean, I can feel it. It's definitely running. It's just not. There's something up with the new simplemining OS, not displaying to the, not always displaying in there. But it's actually running. It's. I mean, I can feel it, and it's actually doing its thing. When we burned up that board, we did it with 1 PSU, and on the 12 GPU board version of that TB250, you need 2 separate 4 pins connected, 2 separate strand 4 pins to go into each one of them, and then we use a 3rd SATA strand to plug into the SATA connector one. So we were powering that off of its own set of power off the same PSU, and then we do it on the 12 GPU rig that we started to build with it. This is a fresh, brand new board. So I'll tell you if we end up nuking this one too, and if we do, I'm done with BioStar, because I'm 3 for 3 on nuking their boards, and there's just too much inconsistency, and I think they need to take them back and go back to the drawing board on it, because these ASRock boards, the H81 Pro BTC, which I was showing earlier that we did have a trace issue with, but that's when we were using powered risers with the Molex. We just stopped using the Molex, and this board worked fine. And on these, this is the second 13 GPU board that I've had that works perfectly out of the box and no issues. Don't mind the display issue. I think that has something to do with simplemining, because we can see here that it is running. Plug this back in over here. We can see in simplemining that it is running right now. It's just not displaying to that port. I bet you if I hit the console here, let me move this rack over here. Yeah, see the console's pulling it. Console's working fine, so the import, so the /M port 1333 is pulling the actual console fine. It's just not displaying to the local GPU onboard for whatever reason, and that seems to be happening with this new version of simplemining, where it's not always coming up. Yeah, still don't see it. I mean, it detects there's a signal, it's just not getting anything from the port. So, I mean, it's running. This kind of situation, I would just let it run. I wouldn't even worry about that, but for your guys' viewing pleasure, I was trying to bring it back up. But it looks like it's about 470 with Ubik. So, all right, so we'll do question and answer. I'll throw, I'm going to throw Zcash back up real quick while we're talking through some basic question and answer. We'll talk about maybe some Hardfork stuff, and then we'll end this episode.
Switch your screens.
For what? No, I'm just going to put this, and then I'm just going to talk. I'm just making sure I have the right Zcash miner. Here we go. I need to do a BC. Save.
There are a lot of tax questions going around the chat, but that's kind of the gray area for us too right now.
Well, tax is one of those things that is just, I mean, like right now, this tax situation that happens with the BCH, which was formerly known as BCC, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, like it or not, we all just inherited new money. At the time that we inherited it is the time of the fork. So whatever your amount that you're holding right now of Bitcoin, you know, technically, the second that there was a fair market value that was non-future and it was posted, technically there's a snap of a rate right there of what your now net worth just went up to. But so if you were holding, you know, 10 Bitcoin, now you have, you know, 10 times $322, if that's the base rate that was selected, that you now would have to pay tax on. 15%, you know, the 25% capital gains tax, you know, technically is what you should be reporting and paying. But, you know, like right now, before we started this stream, we couldn't even, like, we could get our Bitcoin, but I couldn't move it to an exchange. Everything was grayed out, right? So Bitrex won't take any inbound. So is it realized? I mean, it's one that, you know, it's a tough subject right now, because like, when do you take a snap on it? And it's all comes down to, at the end of the day, is if you have a windfall from it, that you have to pay your tax on it. So, and it comes down to what's that price going to land at. I think once the floodgates open for everybody to be able to move their Bitcoin Cash, it's going to tank. It doesn't make sense. Mathematically, it doesn't make sense. Like, once everybody can go off and sell that, if people were holding a lot of Bitcoin, I mean, they could completely collapse that market real quick. You have a massive distribution of a currency. It's an airdrop. But right now, this immediate price that is right now, I just can't imagine that there's enough buyers out there. You don't split and invent billions of dollars. So either everybody's going to hold it, and whatever the current market rate of volume that's out there is just going to hold that price up, and then just everybody's going to continue to hold it, and it doesn't really go anywhere. But over time, it does. I can see a creep down. If people notice that it's not going anywhere, they may just take advantage. So it's like a flip of a switch. If nobody could put into it right now, everybody technically, I'll just wait and hold. And then once everybody can get their money moved, it's like, is it going to go anywhere? Is it going to do anything? Is speculators going to make it rise on Bitcoin Cash? And then if nothing happens, you're going to have those early people that are like, okay, I waited long enough, and they're just going to dump it. And then that's going to drive the price down, and then everybody's going to pile on top and try to get something out of it. To say, oh crap, the ship's going down, let's sell. And then where does that equilibrium land Bitcoin Cash? Remember, Bitcoin Cash has the same amount of it has the same amount of distribution, pretty close to right now Bitcoin. It's behind a few blocks, but there's 16 million of them out there. And at $300, there's a market cap associated with that. I'll do some really quick, simple math, because it's not on CoinCap, I don't think, yet. You guys can tell me if they added it to CoinCap, but if it's 16 million...
They're saying you can trade it on Bitrex since 2:30, but you just can't add any new in, right?
Yeah. So if you had Bitcoin in there, and you were issued Bitcoin Cash because you had Bitcoin in there, that's great. But you can't bring some in. So think of all the people that moved out of their money out of the exchange.
Because that's what they were telling.
Because everybody, that's what they were saying. Now Bitrex came in and said that they would split people's money. That's fine, but this thing's rebooting. Here, we'll play Excel. We'll play with Excel here and do some math real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So, if if we go out here and look, I don't think it's out here yet. Yep, it is now. So $6 billion. 373. So if we're talking, this was at $92 billion before this hit today. You don't invent overnight $6 billion, folks. It's just it's an illusion of a number. It's an illusion of a number to the point that people that can finally transfer their money in can take some of it, but all it's going to do is at the end of the day is it's all about what that price is and how much weight's underneath it to hold that price up, right? So it's showing a little spike of 27%, but when people can actually move in stuff, they didn't take that money from Bitcoin. They didn't take that money from anywhere. It just had an arbitrary futures price that drove that value there. So you take this price times your current supply, and you're going to get your basic market cap. But it's an illusion of a number because there's only so much buy support at those prices. So since this is on CoinCap, I really don't need to bring it into Excel because I was just going to do the math of the supply side. There's a basic math problem that's gonna figure out of how much hash power is going to move over there. The people right now are doing math, figuring if I can move a whole bunch of hash power over there right now because the difficulty is really low, I could at 373 I can make some potential money, and then you're gonna have more competition on that side from just the folks that like via BTC and folks that moved over there, and you're gonna have this tear on trying to share some of that easy difficulty that's going on right now, and it will start to raise the difficulty on Bitcoin Cash. But once these exchanges open up to where people can start moving stuff over there, that supply of 16 million BCH. I mean, if Coinbase isn't gonna, Coinbase essentially had a cold wallet with if you didn't move your Bitcoin out of there, and they had what 600,000, 700,000 Bitcoin in their cold wallet, they now have 600,000 BCH. And if they're not going to support it or buy it, I mean, what's to stop somebody like a Coinbase going in there and just killing the market, right? So I mean, there's a lot of risk in this. You just don't turn around the next day and invent it. That price is not the price. I'm telling you right now, everything from finance background and everything is telling me that 373 is not the price. There's nothing holding that up. So just be careful if you're buying in. I wouldn't tell you to go sell it. I mean, I have a whole bunch right now of BTC, BCH. There's some that I'll obviously divest and sell, but I want to talk and find out how the tax is going to work with it. And yeah, I can't imagine buying in at those prices when there's nothing but speculation holding it up. So just be careful if you guys are out there and you're buying into it. That's the only thing I'll really say. I think a Litecoin's something that's established, that has function. You know, they haven't really claimed what their function is. They're essentially the same function as Bitcoin, so I haven't seen anything that's really holding it up. So just be careful with it. You know, I was really interested to see what that market cap was going to be, and you're going to see a lot of press and news about it. So let's take a recap of what that price point is next week, and see what happens. Yeah, price on BitREX is 551 or 511. Oh god, sold at 519. That's amazing. Yeah, guys, it does not have the infrastructure. It doesn't have the support from the major infrastructure. I mean, it is like the biggest altcoin pump like seen ever. So. There, we plug this back in so you guys can see where this thing's performing at. We'll see if this thing, here's the 9,000. So we got some that are some high GPUs temps here. So we put the power usage on there for the folks that wanted to see that. Yep, now it's starting to throttle it because of the temps. So again, it's a 9,000 Sol rig, but it needs definitely some external cooling to keep her cool, and some adjustments in power to not pull so much juice, because right now it's really cooking the juice. And I'm going to kill it. So I'll take a few more questions. We're going to wrap it up at 2 hours, 45 minutes, which is a pretty long live stream for us tonight. Yeah, guys, the tax video. So I'm not like a licensed tax person, so legally I can't give you tax information. We can interpret the law, but you really need to talk to a tax person. I really hope like the local entities like H&R Block and those kind of places actually do some studying up. I doubt they will, but you know, from like the SEC and the tax, you know, IRS and folks, I mean, they got to understand that folks just don't have the real clear and concise information. There is a punch list of just rules to follow and engage. A lot of people err on the side of caution with regards to like going through an exchange because it's very easy to figure out, you know, okay, you have expenses for the mining equipment, you pay your power, you paid for the hardware, there's a sunk cost in that. That's all very materialistic. You can figure out that cost. Then it's all about when did you get your actual, so if you get paid out every week, you know, a coin, let's say you only have enough to get one coin a week, that market rate at that week that you get that coin is the rate that you earned it at, right? So then you have your expenses to get to it, and then whatever your profit is on that. So whatever profit you're making minus your depreciation for your equipment and your power, you got to take all that into consideration. So you're going to be running negative for a little bit, right? It's really the big windfalls that really get people in trouble. So like if you've been mining, let's say Bitcoin, and you earn 60, 70 a week, you're barely making enough for your power and your depreciation cost on your equipment. But let's say Ubik goes to $60, $70. Well, now that's a little different story. You earned two of them. What's up? Oh, camera two. You earned, you know, let's say 800 Ubik coin, and now it's worth, you know, $100 a piece or something. Let's talk crazy here. You know, well, at that kind of money, now you're talking $80,000 odd dollars, right? I mean, that's quite a bit of money, right? So you're going to be paying some capital gains on that gain, essentially, that you're going to have to. So when you go to exchange it, I mean, it's going to be full visible, right? I mean, any law-abiding citizen is going to go and use the reputable exchange. You're going to exchange it, and they're going to post that any amounts that you're sending into your bank is going to be recorded, especially defense if it's over $10,000. I mean, so you're just keeping straight and narrow. It cost me this to get. Keep your hardware expenses. Keep how much. I mean, this is a hardware expense. This is a depreciation asset. You got your power expense. It costs power to get that. So there is some cost involved with that you can. Your cost, you know, minus your total gross revenue leaves your profit. You pay capital gains on your profit. So, but you got to see where you're starting. When you've gotten that currency each time. Technically, you're supposed to do it with all your trades too. So, I mean, each time you've traded and you've made an increment, that portion is supposed to be taxed, right? So, and there's spreadsheets and software programs that people are creating that import that data, that trade data, and then tell you, you know, hey, you made a little bit here, you made a little bit here, you made a little bit here. What's that summed up, and what's your deltas of what you got to pay? Because when you're trading, you don't have a lot of capital expenses. It's just you making money or losing money, because it's a P&L statement. It's a profit and loss statement, right? So that's why usually taking those kind of activities, you can do that activity, you can make the money, and then just consult a senior, you know, a person that's paid to do that kind of activity, you know, to parse through it and then give you a figure to say, hey, you know, based on this activity, you know, if you had 20 people doing your taxes, you're gonna have 20 different answers. But if you make an honest attempt at it, you have as much best counting that you can on it. That's all you can do right now. I mean, it's a very convoluted system the way that, though, at least in the US, that we have to do it. But if you make that attempt and you show it in full clarity, hey, here's what I owe you, and that's just part of doing business with it. You're still making money. If you're not making money, you're on a loss, and you report your loss, right? But you know, if you don't, like we have to do our tax fees. If you don't do that, then you have a risk where they'll come in, they'll audit you, and if you've looked in gross neglect, where you outright were just trying to defraud somebody, you're just gonna get yourself in trouble. It's not worth it. There's hold pool. This thing running. It's not displaying again. Yeah, we're gonna shut this down. All right, guys. We'll think. Well, I'm gonna look at the super chats, make sure I didn't miss anybody.
You prefer NVIDIA or AMD now?
Depends for the task. I love NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA's been doing very good. Problem with NVIDIA is they're friggin' expensive. They're super expensive. I still do like the Hynix memory for the XFX, like Black Editions and Crimsons are friggin' stellar. 29 mega hash, low power. You can put, you know, 6 of them in a rig for under 1,000 watts. They do very well with Decred Ethereum mining. You know, they're still really good, provided they can fix the epoch issue with the next driver set, like they've done with the RX Vega. I think they're going to be great. And there's a lot of people that are exiting, so you guys should be able to get some good prices on some GPUs now. The 1063 gigs right now are still the best bang for the buck. If you can get them for 215 to 220, 230, somewhere around there, no more than that, they still have the best power to hash to income ratio that you can get right now. The 1063 gigs. The 1066 gigs you're going to spend about another $20, $30 more for, but you do have that dual mining ability with them, because they have the 6 gigs of memory. But I'm a fan of the 1066 gigs. The 1080 Ti's are just bosses, but they're super expensive. I mean, this whole rig here is like 13 grand. So that's just crazy talk. And I mean, that's a year to recoup on current prices. So you know, unless, even if ETH went up to 400 and it rose everything like it did, and let's say Ubik went to $4 a coin or something like that, you may be able to turn this kind of rig in about 5 months, 4.5, 5 months, which that's just crazy talk in itself. That's $13,000, right? So, you know, right now you're at about a year on something like this. On other rigs, you're 4 months at the earliest if you get a good deal on the pricing, to more like 7 months right now, pretty much on any rig. But again, pricing's different. You guys can watch this video 2 weeks from now, and you know, Bitcoin goes to 5 grand and lifts everything else up with it. You know, and we're talking like $800 or $400 or $600 Ethereum pricing, and then all this is all moot point anyways. Mining's back and back strong, right? So, I think I got most of all the super chats. think it's going to be a fun thing to watch in the next few days for Bitcoin Cash as people wait and hold and see what it goes to, and then you have those first three. Remember, guys, there's expensive mining industry right now earning it, and it all comes down to what are, you know, they got to pay for stuff, and if there's not a lot of demand on the buy side, they got to divest some to pay their ends. So we'll see how hollow that buy wall is when you have large divesting, you know, 2,000 coins at a time for them to pay for their ends, because there is always there's always a pressure on every one of these coins. You mine, you pressure. You either sell the coin for Bitcoin, even if you don't take it as capital. Everybody that's mining has some kind of downward pressure on a coin. ICOs, all that kind of stuff, right? Have downward pressure on a coin because they have to sell to get liquid cash to pay for their other means, right? So we'll see how hollow Bitcoin Cash is going to be with this split, but we'll see. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. It's been a long video. I hope it was fruitful. Please leave some likes and comments down there. We're going to get this 5.4 version of the multi-miner out tonight to you guys, so you'll see it on this video. And I need to go back and clean up some of the other videos with the links. I know that the uploadfiles.io, I think they nuked all of our ROMs, saying that it's a violation of terms of service. So I need to do some research on that and figure out why that's a terms of service violation. It shouldn't be, but if there is some kind of terms of service thing, we'll get that figured out. We're going to try to get them relisted back up on probably Mega, and then we'll see if we can get those added to the website. That way you guys don't have to search for videos, because a lot of people have given us questions about that, about putting it on the website just on one page. That way you guys can get to all of them. So about moving some of that too. So we'll catch you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I know it was a long episode, but hopefully it was good, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.